Hello, Simone. I'm excited to be here with you today. Today, we are going to be discussing the fact that if you are young today or you are raising kids today, you need to be raising them for a post-job economy,
Yeah.
which means making very different decisions about the way that you help them prep for, well, being financially stable as an adult. And it also means, in terms of your own decisions, I think for a lot of us, we will be in a post-job world. What do you think, 25 years?
Yeah. Well, the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed. I think there are many people now who are losing their jobs and will never get one again, period.
Hmm. And here, when I say job, I mean traditional 9 to 5, like recurring revenue. That is, and well, Simone, do you want to go into like what is causing the end of the concept of a job? And I first note here for a lot of people who think that this is like an insane thing, jobs are a fairly recent invention.
Mhm.
They were really only invented as like a mass thing in like the 1920s.
And this
And
concept of having a lifelong job and getting a gold watch and having a pension, it was such a short-lived phenomenon. It's hard for me to imagine that, like, how did we ever get that impression that it was going to be that way forever?
yeah, so go into this, Simone.
Yeah, so I think already for a long period of time, we've seen a very slow easing into this, and it hasn't just been about AI. And I think that also the way that job reports are coming in, there's a lot of underreporting because obviously they're not reporting people who stopped looking for a job entirely. And the number of people who are living now by gig work and piecing together a lot of jobs, including short term jobs, is just so high now that
Well,
I don't count those as jobs, and I don't think most people count them as like long-term jobs either because they're not sustainable. They get laid off all the time or they change jobs all the time.
I
So
want to elevate something you said here because I think that a lot of people might miss this. And it's, what was the economic pressure that led to the concept of a 9 to 5 job that stopped existing long before AI? The reason why you had quote unquote jobs and the skyscrapers that house these people back in the day
mm,
is it was largely due to the difficulty of long distance communication.
mhm.
So if I was a company and I wanted somebody who was competent at X task, okay, and I wanted to be sure I had somebody who is competent at X task this year, and I had somebody who is competent at X task in 10 years or 5 years or next year, the most cost efficient way to get one of those people was to source a competent sort of blank slate and train them in that task.
Mhm.
Maybe somebody who had a bit of training in that task to begin with. And so the way I would do this is I would go to the most elite universities or the universities in my area as sort of an authentication mechanism. I would find individuals who are graduating and I would say, okay, how well, how well are you, like how smart are you generally? And I could get that from their GPA.
Mhm.
And then I would hire them and then I would train them up as much as I could for a specific task. And you saw a lot of like rotation programs start for this for like management jobs. You saw a lot of, but that was the idea. It was not that these companies cared about people. It was that it was efficient. And this is why you had the gold
Well,
watch.
and more than that, it was worth it for them and to invest in training, which is another clear sign to, I think, many people intuitively already that permanent jobs and stable jobs are gone forever. No one trains anyone anymore. This idea of like
Yeah.
apprenticeship and investing in someone's training is just non-existent. People expect you to come out of the box completely ready to go on day one with absolutely zero support.
This isn't totally true. Slow moving organizations, rotational programs still exist and stuff like that, but they're being phased out.
They're totally being phased out. And I
Uh,
feel like they didn't have high efficacy
no,
for
they
quite
didn't
some
because
time.
so this worked because if you were trained in this stuff and you were in most cities, there really wasn't that much mobility you had. You might be able to go work for one other competitor or something like that, but there was a huge reason to stay with the company you were with because of that, but also because of like the pensions and the benefits and stuff like that. They
Mhm.
worked it into their systems that a lot of the benefits for working in for them required working for them a long time. So
Mhm.
they were aligning the interests here. They invest in you, you invest in them.
And it was worth it for this company to invest in this person because they could reasonably expect this person to stick around for the duration of their career. Otherwise,
Yes.
it doesn't make any sense to train someone, which again, like it's not the company's fault, by the way, that they're not training people. People are so flaky. Like it is an active risk to even think about training someone.
And then something happened. And it wasn't AI. This is where you have the charts, and you can watch our video on this, or we go into this a lot more details. What actually happened in, I think it was 1976, where you see all the charts begin to diverge in terms of like income data and everything like that, and salary rise and everything.
Right.
And what it was that was the big rise of outsourcing that started.
Mhm.
So phones became common and internet became common were the two things that happened.
Yeah.
And that meant that if I am a company and I want somebody who is skilled in, let's say, accounting, okay, and I want to, as all companies intrinsically do, pay the least I can to get somebody who is broadly competent in this,
Mhm.
given that living standards in Africa or India or the Philippines are dramatically less than they are in the United States, I can hire somebody who might do a slightly worse job, might have slightly fewer like connections in the office or be able to connect with people, but I'm paying 1/10 what I'm paying somebody in the US.
Yeah.
Why would I pay somebody in the US when I can pay 1/10 of what I'm paying in the US?
Yep. Yeah.
And this is what led to the collapse of global poverty. This wasn't all bad. If you look at poverty rates worldwide, they begin to collapse, like severe poverty rates, at the same time as US salary begins to stagnate. And this happened for a long, long time. This was happening but there were still roles that made sense. There was still bureaucratic inertia within the United States and some other countries in the developed world. AI changes that entirely.
Yeah. Well, I think first there's a couple things that happened. And before even AI started happening, just general tech and automation have been progressively changing this over time. It's not like there's a before AI and there's an after AI period. There's a before email and after email. There's a before like all these different types of software and CRMs and automations that enabled people to do the work of many other people. And that's why also there's sort of this trend you started, I think like beginning in the 90s and then onward, you heard of more and more people being like, I'm now expected to do the job of 3 people. This is so stressful. So, but not really, because they had software to support them. It's kind of like how housewives got like dishwashers and refrigerators and clothing washers, and they were able to basically do all their chores in very little time.
Well, all of this happened with the introduction of Zoom as well. And that was the other big thing is Zoom plus COVID even disintermediated the concept of a corporate environment.
But then on top of that, and this really, I think, started to shift with Twitter. So only very recently, there was the realization that, oh my gosh, my giant corporation probably has an excess of 60 to 80% of employees. Like I could eliminate all of them thoughtfully, that 60 to 80%, and be just as functional, if not a little bit more functional.
Yeah, what
Because they're
she's
kind of
talking about
getting in
here
the way.
is Twitter/X, when it axed, like, what was it, 98%,
I think
89,
80%.
80% of its staff, there were all these doomsayers who said, oh, this is going to crash the corporation, but it didn't. It functions as well as it ever did now.
No, I mean, better. Look at Grok, everyone's favorite AI right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It is just strictly better than it used to be in
It
every
is.
conceivable way. And you realize, and a lot of the corporate world took away from this. And we've seen massive firings since then across the corporate world. But I also think a lot of people, what were you going to say, Simone?
Well, yeah. And I think Twitter was the one that proved it to people. And that's why the firings are taking place in very subtle ways, I think, to sort of reduce alarmism and like news that organizations are struggling. So they're doing things like ordering people to come back into the office and making new requirements.
Yeah, no,
and
that's not because corporate America makes sense anymore. Everybody knows corporate America is pointless. They ask you to come back in so they can fire the ones who don't.
Yeah, it's not like people think that office work is exceptional with I guess the exception of some people like Elon Musk who just, but I mean, I can get it with his work, like with Tesla and SpaceX, where you have people in factories, you need people there. So I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, the same with hospitals. You can't like have everyone be remote working. But anyway, so all of these things have already happened. I would already, as a parent, be telling my kids, which is what happens now. So we have this son named Octavian who's old enough to understand money and who wants it. He wants it bad. He's like, I need money. Where can I get money? And like, he knows that we work to earn money and therefore pay for his things. So he's like, okay, well, you work. I need a job. Where am I going to get a job? I need to go to work. And we're like, no, you're never going to get a job. You have to build your own company. You have to make your own money. You can't go somewhere and get a job and get paid that is over now. You may see people doing that, but that is the end of an institution that you will never get to participate in, which isn't 100% true. Obviously, there are going to be salary jobs for big organizations always, but I just don't.
I think you might be, and I think a lot of people might be shocked by how rare they become.
Well,
before our
not
kids
just
do it.
rare, but like a kind of a form. It sounds wrong to say this, but kind of a form of slavery, kind of where you're just living paycheck to paycheck. You're in debt. You don't have stable income. You're being jerked around. You're not happy. You're stressed out. I think it's just going to get progressively worse in most cases.
Yeah, no, this is like the old factory towns where, if people remember, this was, during the time of slavery in the South and stuff like that. In the North, you had the factories where you'd have big lines of people waiting to get a job. And if you didn't accept the abuse, if you didn't accept the poor standards, they're just like, here's the line. Like they would keep it there so you could see one of these people will take your job for less because look, they're all starving. And when you have access to anyone in the world to replace people, that was originally the thing. But with AI, what really needs to be emphasized is look at how advanced the people I know who complain about AI and are like, it's really not that good at thinking. It's really not that good at, these are people who have not interacted with AI recently. They're generally like, I tried it when it came out 2 years ago. And I'm like, then try it again. Try Croc again. Try Claude again. The paid models, the good models.
And what are these people even enter? Are they just like, I imagine they're just doing things like, make me a sandwich or something. And the AI is like, well, I can't do that.
Yeah, they're not like, here's my taxes, do them for me. Like,
yeah, do my taxes. No, sir, sir.
Well, no, it's not far from a lot of that stuff. We use it
No,
for
it's
that
really not.
all the time.
Yeah.
I think, hey, we need to write an executive order for the president. Can you draft one for me on this topic? Hey, I need to write a,
this is to help me with taxes all the time. It's actually, it's incredible with anything sort of tax or government or statute related, because it can translate government-ese into human, which is really helpful.
Yeah, or you go to something like Grok. I can go to Grok, and I went to Grok today, and I was like, what episodes would listeners of Based Camp with Malcolm and Simone likely like to have an episode on? And it'll give me like great suggestions. Like, this is absolute, or Perplexity, we use a ton with our shows. Instead of hiring like a researcher, I'm just like, give me links to everything on this particular subject. Like, or the art that we use in our title cards. That's somebody who we might have outsourced to in the past. And yet every one of them is done with an AI or
multiple AIs sometimes.
Multiple AIs. So to use AI well, you really need to know all the systems for a specific task.
So it should go without saying that basically AGI is well on its way. And though historically, for the past at least 20 years, we have been seeing the downfall of the job as technology has made more and more human action obsolete. Now, even the most elite human action is going to swiftly become obsolete. And if you ask AI about it, AI is even going to vastly understate how much AGI is going to take over human jobs. For example, if you ask, and I asked ChatGPT, I asked Claude, I asked Grok, and I asked Perplexity, all about what they thought, the only human jobs would be, or like the remaining areas where humans could actually have successful companies and do successful work vis-a-vis AI. And they're like, oh, well, I think that things like counseling and therapy and the creative arts are things that really only humans can. Bullshit.
We already have AI doing that.
I know. The most popular chat companion on most of the AI chat sites, it's a therapist. Yeah. And everyone loves it a lot more than human therapists. And what is the first thing that really nailed AI was art. Like it was.
And I love this complaint when people are like, AIs just give like the most average answer possible because they're token predictors. And I'm like, is that not what you want? Like from a therapist, do I not want the average of what all therapists?
Well, they actually give the most pleasing. And I don't know if it was Scott Alexander or someone else. I think it was Scott Alexander who did some kind of he either had a test or offered a test or took a test that compared famous historical works with AI, basically equivalents of those works. And a lot of people basically just weren't able to tell the difference. I was instantly able to tell the difference. And all I had to do was look at the two paintings and think of which one was just a little bit more perfect.
Well, hold on. I have there was a great study done on people who said they hated AI art. And it turned out that people who say that they hate AI art when presented with two pieces of art, if they don't know which one was created with AI, persistently choose the AI art over the non-AI art.
Of course, because when you compare, a piece side
No,
by
these
side,
people are just willfully ignorant is really the point. They have this belief that the world isn't changing that much, or that things can't really change that much, or that technology can't be that good. And it's just it's weird. It's almost like the opposite of like a Luddite perspective. It's like a
yeah.
I don't engage with the world perspective. And
Mm.
it's bizarre to me, but those of us who have kids, and we really do need to think about our kids and like how we're raising them, we need to accept that this is the reality for them, and that AIs are going to be better than humans at most tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And so as they think about like, what does it mean to educate myself? The
Yeah.
very last thing you want to be as a human today is somebody who is outputting the average answer.
Yeah. Being a mediocre and generally good at things,
Is
really
what
bad.
AI is.
Yeah, actually, I think I took notes here. Grok put it best. Let me pull up what Grok said as a general overview. Humans will still hold an edge in areas rooted in emotional connection, physical presence, cultural nuance, and subjective experience. It thinks basically
That's
that
not
humans
a
will
lot
be.
of areas.
No, it's not. It's not. Grok wrote, niche is king. AI will dominate mass markets, so focus on small, passionate audiences willing to pay for human expertise or connection. Use AIs, obviously, the whole time to do this. Build relationships and start early. So the general conclusion that I came after talking with the 4 major AIs, in my view, and getting their insights and where they think that humans really matter is here's what I think we should do with our kids. And you can critique what I think we should do.
Okay.
So 1, our kids need to grow up AI native. Their friends should be AI. They need to use AI to solve every problem that's out there. Like everything they do leans on AI. They grow up with AI. They are integrated with AI, right? The other thing is, and this is sort of on the other end of that spectrum, I really want them to apprentice with a contractor or fixer or plumber or electrician or pest control person, like to learn physical problem solving and get used to that, because that's going to be a really important component later on in the career, whether or not they just want to fall back on like being a pest control person or an electrician, because to the point of AI, actually that is going to be an area where like there's still going to be jobs forever, and you can start your own business to do that. So that's really important. Find that person to apprentice with and help them out like for free, and that's a key part of your education. Then from an early age, and I'm so glad our kids are so thirsty for like online presence, you need to build a strong public online presence and a clear character that could plausibly jump into and make sense in a lot of different niches. So like you should be online, you should be well documented, you should be in exchanging content, doing like appearances with other people on lots of different platforms, and then build a strong personal network with other high agency people who are doing the same thing, because this is the key to any entrepreneurial thing you do taking off. Because in the end, people are only going to work with humans because those humans have cachet, because those humans have recommendations, because there's something special about them. AI is going to do everything better. So the only reason they're working with you is because you're a celebrity in your niche. And so you have to be lumpy and weird. And then also be the one to start the parties in your networks. Like, so be the one to convene vacations and events and things like that. Because one of the areas where AI did point out humans could do fairly well is in human gatherings and events and like sort of cultural things. So you could just be an event organizer. You could be a retreat organizer. You could become someone who organizes these communities that people still pay money to be a part of because they need to feel that connection. And again, it could be like really nerdy stuff. Like I watched this one YouTuber who just reviews conventions, and there are so many niche conventions, like for some specific subgenre of like fantasy romance, where they have like balls and workshops, but there's like people make money off this, right? So you can own that niche, but you have to build up a reputation to do so. And then I think the most important thing, and this will probably manifest in a lot of different businesses that our kids will create throughout their careers as entrepreneurs. So they're basically going to create micro company after micro company after micro company, is learn how to physically build something that people might want made for them by a human. So it could be, I think Grok gave the example of vegan leather shoemakers for cyclists as an example. But I was also thinking like custom drones, custom home security systems, bespoke AI companions. like sort of giving the right prompts and like then like literally crafting the actual robotic companion, doing car
Wait,
mods.
should they make the AI girlfriends that replace
Yeah, like
everyone?
literally like make AI girlfriends, make AI caretakers, like being someone who custom mods them and like does the same with drones.
Well, no, I mean, I think
Um,
that that's gonna be a thing, is people who make AIs that are then like, in the same way you have, like, VTuber creators now who are,
yeah,
like, good VTuber designers,
yeah.
there's gonna be good designers of AI celebrities.
Well, yeah, and people like maybe everyone's gonna have an AI slap drone, but like some
Mhm.
people are gonna have a pink AI slap drone that holds a parasol for them and speaks in a British accent. Like, who's gonna do that? Sorry, people will come to that person. Or like, I think there's also gonna be a lot of interest in like, girl, what are you doing? I think there's also gonna be a lot of interest in, and the AI agreed with me on this, in like historical ways of building houses and furniture and clothing and even fabrics, like artisan fabric making, even now. So the people who are most excited about Lore Piana, for example, which is sort of the if you know you know fancy person brand, like they're not buying like Louis Vuitton or Chanel or anything. It's Lore Piana. It's because they're kind of obsessed with this like artisan fiber material sourcing and then weaving together. And it's like, oh well, the material and the artisan. And like I think in the future, it's going to become the niche version of that. You are having a niche celebrity do it. So a niche celebrity tattoo artist, a niche celebrity, whatever. And so I want our kids, that's why it's really important that they both get really good with AI and build a strong public persona and network, but also really learn physical problem solving early on and are
Yeah.
really comfortable with robotics, with electronics, with things
And
like
we
that.
already have, like, AI toys for our kids.
We do, but our kids aren't yet old enough to like apprentice, for example, with John, who I think it'd be amazing for them to
Mhm.
apprentice with because John is our neighbor and also like basically family to us. And he has a
Kids during the day
business.
most days, yeah.
Yeah, he has a business that does all sorts of things from like landscaping to hardscaping to tree management and like fixing things in homes and all sorts of things like that. And oh my gosh, to get our kids exposed to that would be so helpful because you have to learn those skills. There's one other element of this that I think will be for some of our kids' lumpy interests, which is STEM. And I think it was Claude pointed out to me that one thing that AGI will be unleashing is whole new scientific fields
Yes.
and new discoveries that smart and entrepreneurial people can act on in ways that AI just kind of in isolation maybe can't necessarily, because you really need to connect breakthrough technology with high agency people who make it a thing, right? Like
This
if
is
there's
also why
some
we changed the Collins Institute to breaking out all human knowledge, and instead of having we used to have multiple choice-based tests to pass a skill, now
mm,
it's a Socratic AI tutor,
yeah.
that you can do in Socratic mode or to test you.
So let's say that AGI discovers some amazing new therapeutic. Well, if our kid also then is really well connected with great investors and other scientists and things like that, they can start to market and sell customized versions of this therapeutic to other people within the network. I don't care at this point if it's like regulated or not, because that's not going to matter in the future. Like what Catch Me, like you're going to have basically, because we also know that AGI is is going to create a very, very, very wealthy 0.0001%, and then everyone else who's basically
And we need to be popular within that wealthy network. That's the other
yes.
thing, is be
And
the
it
type of
doesn't matter
person.
if what you're selling to the 0.0001% is illegal because they're richer than Croesus. It just doesn't matter. Like they have ways of hiding that. And so will you using AI. So what am I missing?
No, I largely agree with everything you're saying there, to be honest. I think, building community that people want to be affiliated with is really, really important in where we're going, and focusing on community in terms of how you're selling, in terms of how you're thinking about, with our kids, what's going to be important for them is in the previous generation, you could just go to an elite school like you and I did, Stanford and Cambridge, and then there were certain networks that you were like automatically in. That's not going to be true for this next generation. That means these people who I think are investing in these Harvard degrees and stuff now, they're not going to matter as much as they did historically, if at all. They might even be seen as a negative in a lot of communities because they're seen as, trying to split the difference and potentially invalidating of an individual. And I think that a lot of people, that's something that is not being accounted for as much in people who are now like, yeah, but it's better to get the Harvard degree to be safe. I'm like, you don't know if in 20 years that will be seen as a strict negative within positions of power within our society. There's already a lot of suspicion around stuff like that. I would not be surprised if I'm talking about the next generation. Now, I'm not this generation. I think on the margin, if you've gotten in, it's probably worth it. But for the next generation, I'd say my best guess is it's probably going to hurt your career prospects if you could have gotten in. And that you're much better off on focus on building community eyes within online environments and social networks.
I think it might be more of a liability because the people scrutinizing you are going to ask, didn't you have something better to do?
Mhm.
Like with AGI and even with AI as it is today, this idea that you would slow down your life by 3 to 4 years to just
like a passport stamped.
Yeah, it's suspicious, and it implies a lack of drive, a lack of ingenuity, a lack of being willing to take initiative and try and build something yourself. And for that reason, I would view it with suspicion in the near future. I get why people do it now because we still live in this very brackish world where some people are already fully steeped in the future, but many people still are living by the old rules, and you still in those communities, in those spots of water, have to play by those rules.
Well, somebody will say something like when they look at the Collins Institute, they'll be like, well, okay, it may be in every conceivable way better than a traditional education at this point. And a lot of people are like, why aren't your kids going yet? They can't read yet. Okay. We're building a College Institute version 2.0 that'll have a part of it for kids who can't read yet, that'll do voice with AI and everything like that. That'll be there eventually. It's not there yet. But
oh my gosh, is it a school for kids who can't read good but want to?
Yes, but the version of better in every conceivable way, except people will say, well, what if the kid doesn't have self-motivation? You know, doesn't have the ability to drive themselves to move forward.
Well, then they can just sit back and rot with their AI girlfriend forever on their
like,
universal basic income.
Thing you are responsible for teaching and imparting to them as a parent.
No.
And school, the traditional school system isn't going to impart that. If their motivation is just, oh, well, I'll get in trouble if I don't do this, that's not going to exist when they graduate.
Nope, because you'll just take your UBI and go,
die in the woods.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about UBI.
Well, I want to do an episode on this particular topic because I've looked at how UBI has destroyed communities that have gotten it intergenerationally, and we have examples of this in things like Native American communities. And wherever it's happened intergenerationally, the community has just rotted. We're talking, only 1 in 4 people is employed.
I mean, hell, trust fund kids, like the way that the percentage of them that wash out. We didn't even need to look at the disadvantaged communities because everyone's always going to argue, well, but they were facing systemic disadvantages. No, look at the people who descended from arguably the best privilege, every advantage, all the money, all the connections.
And I have a lot of friends in this. A lot of them ended up nobodies. Like the majority ended up nobodies because they expected that it would continue, and not just nobodies.
Well, no. I think especially those who had no forcing function to try. Mm-hmm. I would argue that those who were not given the luxury of living off a trust fund, on average, turned out pretty okay.
That's true.
It's the ones who had the trust fund that washed out.
The ones, are the ones whose parents like fucked up at some point and lost all the money. Like,
that's why I loved your family tradition, basically, like sort of unspoken family tradition of like, oh, are you not doing well? Well, don't come home.
Yeah, like we don't help the ones who don't do well. Like,
yeah,
no, but it actually is really important, and we see this among our network. If I look at like what's typically the profile of someone who's like actually super successful, they're typically from a family that was super successful but then lost all their money or something else like that, or for whatever reason disowned them or something like that. That's the general, like Elon, right? Like Elon's dad was fairly successful, but he never really got any benefits from that because his dad is such a skeezy person. Am I allowed to say that his dad is a skeezy person?
I think
generally accepted.
Marrying your stepdaughter puts you into skis territory. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that hugely, if his dad had actually owned like emerald mines that he could have milked, he probably wouldn't have ended up anywhere near as successful as he is. And
He wouldn't have as much motivation. Yeah.
well, yeah, and this isn't just a U.S. thing. I'm thinking about like the friends we have who are like successful in Latin America, the friends we have who are successful in Asia. It's a very similar pattern in this existing economic system, and I think that this pattern will reinforce itself in the next economic system. There is nothing worse that you can give someone than a safety net.
Yeah.
Than financial stability.
I mean, yeah, there are exceptions. I think that sometimes there are unforeseen events and acts of God that can throw you back. And I think it's, very case by case in terms of a family deciding to step in or not. And there are absolutely legs up that can make a world of difference for someone. And those types of advantages really vary. So it depends on the time and the context. So I do think that occasional hands at the back, like spotting hands are good. I just think that a guaranteed spotting hand is not good.
Yeah.
Like kind of like when you're rock climbing, you shouldn't feel any slack. You should feel nothing but slack. And if you fall, you're going to fall for a while before the rope catches you.
Okay. Yeah. I love that. A horrifying example.
Well, I hated that when rock climbing. I'd be like, pull up a slack, pull up. Like I basically wanted to feel like someone was literally pulling me up the rock wall I was climbing, like that's how it feels comfortable. And that's like trust fund kids are just being hoisted up. Yeah. They're just hanging in midair, just being hoisted up.
I mean, that's what's happening to people in the DEI networks. That's what was happening with the Native American communities for ages. And
so who's going to try? You're not going to climb if someone's hoisting you. That would be stupid. Like people are behaving logically. It's sad.
Well, and how do you, when UBI happens, do you tell our kids not to take it?
I mean, they'll take it, but they'll invest it in their businesses.
Hopefully.
Like the idea of using that to support yourself is sad. But yeah, we're going to need to invest. We need to like make a maker studio. Like we could maybe put like a little barn. Like our kids need to get used to building artisanal physical objects really early on and find weird enthusiast communities that get excited about them.
If you're watching this, by the way, and you have kids around our kids' age, or even, you're planning to have kids in the near future and you want to be on our email list for like parents to do like get-togethers and stuff like that, because we're going to do eventually yearly like summer camps and stuff to build, collective culture networks and stuff like that. Let us know and we can help you on those fronts.
Indeed. Yeah.
I love you to death, Simone. What am I doing for dinner tonight?
Per your request, we are doing more of the chicken curry with garlic naan. But
what type of curry
spicy?
Is this?
Lol, hold on. Moss? See, it was a lamb dish, but then we made it with chicken. Hold on.
Oh, well, let's throw in
more of the like that super red spicy.
I put in a bit of chili oil.
Mass. LAALMAAS, lalmas.
Okay, well, I'd put in some chili oil.
It's Rajasthani mutton curry, known for its fiery red color and rich flavors.
Some chili oil. Okay, do you know where this chili oil is?
I thought that gave you digestive discomfort.
It might. We'll see.
Oh boy.
Chili oil, and we'll try. No, and I note
I didn't. Not the red chili powder. You want chili oil instead.
I didn't say the spicy sauce, the tampan sauce or whatever it's called, but chili oil, just labeled chili oil. It's like a red oil, so a little
with like a yellow and blue label.
No, that's the tampan sauce.
Oh.
That's a specific flavor that I think is what's causing the digestive problems. Chili oil is a generic oil.
All right. Well,
so chili oil and
you don't want me to just put in the red powder? It's super spicy.
Chili oil and a bit of the red powder, but not a ton of the red powder.
Okay? Jesus. All right. Good luck, friend.
What?
Have fun storming the castle. I love you.
Storming the castle? What are you talking about? Our kids, by the way, are rolling down the hill over and over again right now.
On their little scooters? On the scoots? Are they wearing their helmets?
Yeah, they're wearing their helmets.
This is good.
Because they go fast. We've got a hill by our house that's like paved. And I remember seeing them the first time on it, and I was like, they're gonna die. They do not have any fear at all about going.
This is how they learn fear.
To the woods.
Yeah, I remember the first time I learned not to play it too fast and loose on my bike because I was leaning into turns.
Oh, I
And
don't want to
then
hear about this, but I will tell you this, Simone. They
yeah,
won't learn. You think an injury is going to teach these kids anything?
I don't know, when you scrape off half of your skin,
Ah, no, yeah, quiet,
you learn.
woman.
You learn. You learn. I need to get better bandages for that. I need to prepare. We had this like, you want that like that plastic kind that goes over the open wound.
Are we gonna? When do I need to start taking them into the woods more? They already found it very formative. Remember Octavia
After
was making
the
drawings
swamp
of-
marigolds come out, I would say is the.
Oh yeah, that's a great time. We could actually go to like the deep swamp area, and I could let them out one night for like a witch day.
Where is that hiking trail that has the witch swamp? When we were walking, oh no, it's right by Pauling's farm.
Yeah.
The witch swamp. It looks
Yeah.
really creepy, like legit creepy.
Should I have them go, give them like high boots and stuff, and go explore the witch swamp?
Oh god.
Octavian, remember I took him in the woods and he made drawings of it for a while. Of like, remember he was like, oh, and
Oh
here's
yeah,
the
this is
trees,
me
and here-
going to the woods with Daddy. Yeah, but then there were those instances of Octavian deciding he was finished before the
And running
family
into the
was,
woods,
and
yeah.
him just disappearing on you. And I would be so confused. Like Octavian comes home and I'm like, where's Torsten? Where's Titan? Where's
Dude,
Daddy?
He ran home while I was in the woods and I was panicking trying to find him.
Yeah, you're out there like looking for him and he's home just like chilling, helping me make dinner. Oh well.
He's like, Daddy said it's okay. I did not say it's okay.
A little nugget. I love him though.
Clearly, this is the thing. We get in trouble for barely beating our children. And I think the problem is I just don't beat them severely enough.
Gotta beat them harder, Malcolm. It's true.
They
Sad but
are
true.
too carefree. Look at this. They don't even know about injury yet.
I'm glad they're enjoying themselves.
None of them have gotten seriously injured even once. It's kind of surprising.
It's a huge relief. I really don't want them to get hurt. No.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with that, but you know, I don't want to raise pussies.
They'll figure it out. At any rate, I will go start your dinner, and I love you very much as it happens.
Love you too. Have a good one, Simone.
Bye, Malcolm.
Bye. God, Reddit's become such a cesspit every time. I had tried to prep a video. This is actually really interesting. I wanted to learn about like people who are doing like VR dating and everything like that. Like, what are their relationships like? What are
Like with their AI boyfriends and girlfriends?
Well, no, real people, but through virtual reality.
Oh.
And the stories were all because you know there's these like virtual reality like chat rooms and stuff now that remind me a lot of like.
Are you in an avatar or?
Yeah, you're in an avatar.
Okay.
Like as a furry or whatever.
Oh.
But like the communities in them seem to be dramatically less interesting or diverse than the ones that existed within Second Life. And the stories of the marriages that come out of them are just like super boring, which I was really surprised by. I thought there would be more there.
Right? That's odd, isn't it? I don't know what to make of that. Whatever.
Oh no, people are getting their jobs back. What? This is on RFED News. Top posted. I was been reinstated at the NIH. Their illegal probationary firing was ended. Thousands of the people were rehired due to a judge. So we've got to see.
That the fight will continue. They'll do what they need to do. It will happen.
Let's hope.
I know it. Having learned that the Clinton administration also had a Doge-like effort, and that they just went through the proper channels, and it took them 8 years, but they still did it. Part of me is a little regretful of the timeline that Doge has. They did not give themselves a lot of time till 2026. They're kind of like, well, but we'll see. We'll see, Malcolm. It's all good.
Okay, so what did you want to tell subscribers?
That subscribers, if you can subscribe to the channel, then and press the like button. Then if you want kids, then we are gonna send like Minecraft to your a phone, so your kids can watch the video of Deja and Mikey turn into a vampire videos all the time if you want, other videos like Crafty or Minecraft with them and play Minecraft. And also if you want to play Minecraft, get a computer like me right there. Okay,
and will you send them a kid if they want kids?
Also, they say did Mikey Minecraft video. I know, I'm recording. I see, and also like that. Like and subscribe is like I like and subscribe to somebody's channel too, and I got so happy that I like them.
Do you think that they'll get happy if they like and subscribe to our channel?
Yeah.
Okay.